The Missing Children Incident, or MCI, is one of the most iconic events in the narrative of the Five Nights at Freddy's series. In the 80s, 5 children are led to the back room of Freddy's by one of the co-founders of the restaurant chain, William Afton. At the time, William was disguised as one of his company's characters, Spring Bonnie. These 5 children were killed, stuffed inside the animatronics, and became possessed. Law enforcement found a suspect, but never found the bodies. Despite the Fnaf franchise having multiple continuities, the MCI is a constant in every version of the story. It describes how the original 5 animatronics of the series became possessed, and its presence is felt no matter which game in the series you're playing. While the names of the kids and their identities may change depending on the continuity, there are always 5. They are always stuffed into Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and Golden Freddy, and they always possess them. The killer is always William Afton in a Spring Bonnie costume. It seems to be a fixed point in any version of Five Nights at Freddy's. In a very, very stark contrast to this, the second killing spree at a Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location, featuring 5 children being murdered, is one of the least explained story beats in the franchise. And considering this is FNAF we're talking about, that's saying something. In 1987, 5 additional children were murdered at a newly opened Freddy Fazbear's Pizza that was intended to be a revival of the restaurant chain. This time, the children's bodies were not hidden anywhere, but were left strung throughout the location, easily located by the authorities. This event has been dubbed the Dead Children Incident, or DCI, by the community, as the victims weren't missing this time, and the name fits nicely with the MCI. We see this event depicted in the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 8-bit death minigame Save Them, as well as hear about it when Phone Guy tries to downplay the incident in a recorded phone call.
Okay, so just to update you, there's been somewhat of an investigation going on. We may end up having to close for a few days. I don't know. I want to emphasize, though, that it's really just a precaution. Fazbear Entertainment denies any wrongdoing.
Even the newspaper you see for beating the game describes the location as closing down after 1 week due to animatronic malfunctions.
Someone used one of the suits. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it. Now none of them are acting right.
We never hear or see anything even adjacent to the Dead Children's incident ever again. Back when FNAF 2 first came out, many in the community assumed the DCI was an explanation as to why the toy animatronics are also possessed. I was one of those people. This is a theory that still exists to this day. My biggest issue with this theory, however, is at no point in any other game in the series are the undead souls of the DCI ever mentioned. The DCI is flat out forgotten after FNAF 2. Regarding the toy animatronics, they are described as having been built using parts from the original FNAF 1 animatronics. We know the children's angry spirits have supernatural abilities that extend beyond their animatronic presence. Controlling multiple animatronics that each have an essence of the same child's soul is not beyond the realm of possibility. I think this explanation fits the toys better and is more consistent with other depictions of possession in the franchise. We know the toys are possessed, by the way. Mangle is not supposed to be able to climb walls. That's ghost power stuff. They aren't hostile because of their facial scanners malfunctioning or anything. So if the DCI didn't possess the toy animatronics, who did they possess? Another theory I see often nowadays is that the kids didn't possess anyone. They just died and passed on naturally. This doesn't contradict with anything in the series, but it is a little confusing from a storytelling standpoint. Why did Scott show this event if its only relevance is to provide a reason to shut down the new Freddy's? The Bite of 87 alone would have been enough for that. Did William just do this because he's mad Freddy's is being relaunched without him? Was this an early example of industry sabotage or personal revenge against his former business partner Henry? It's just confusing to me, and there's too many potential explanations for it that there is no explanation for it, if that makes sense. That's not to say I disagree with any of these theories. They all can fit. It's just, not satisfying because we don't have enough information to form a theory. Recently, ID's Fantasy brought up an interesting idea in their video about shadow animatronics. They argued that shadow animatronics aren't really possessed characters, but concentrations of intense agony and memories of victims given a tangible form. The shadows look like animatronics because the victims' traumatic memories in FNAF tend to have to do with animatronic characters. Relating this back to the DCI, ID's Fantasy suggested that some of the shadow characters we see in the series are the agony of the DCI seeping into both the real world and the other side, and it's this agony that ultimately helps the MCI find their peace and their happiest day. This is a really impressive theory, no surprise really considering who it's from, but like every theory involving the DCI ever, there's no evidence at all. This isn't a theory video because I don't have any pieces to work with. I just don't know. And I want to know. I think it's very interesting. An entire serious tragedy at Freddy's location that was one of the first things we ever learned about in the franchise just forgotten. I'll be pretty disappointed if the story beat is abandoned forever. Even a simple tease of an explanation would make me happy. Scott has definitely been clearing up long-running mysteries of the franchise in recent years, with reveals about Phone Guy, potentially the masked bullies from FNAF 4, and an actual FNAF game set in the 1970s, currently being developed. The recent Crying Child name mystery finally being solved also has me in that headspace of wanting all these classic burning mysteries to have some form of definitive conclusion. I'm curious what you all think about the DCI. Do you think they possessed the toys, didn't, and just died? Do you agree with ID's fantasies theory about their agony being all that's left behind, and the basis for some of the shadow animatronics, or do you have a theory of your own? Please bombard the comment section with anything you want to say. I love reading them. Once again, thank you for all the continued support, and I'll see you next time. Bye!